Casey and Isaac explore a world of dragons. Yes, a world of dragons once again. And unlike the previous Dragons episode, this one is awesome. Where dragons fly around with people on their backs carrying along an entire town with them. So join us as we explore yet another world.
Once we get past the history lesson. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the World Explorer podcast, where we take a simple idea and then build an entire world around it in a story-like fashion. Stories which you guys have free use to take and write and do whatever you want with. We've got no claims on the stuff we come up with in this podcast. It's all for you guys to enjoy and create with. And as always, I'm Casey, and I am joined with my friend Isaac. Say hello.
Penguin.
Or Penguin, that works too. Isaac is our prop keeper, master, whatever fancy term we think of this week, and he will be giving us the prop, which we will then build our world around. Yeah.
So, I was thinking about something that's very simple, and I know I say this a lot, but I'm not sure if we'll build an entire world out of this one, but we might. But this is such a simple idea that I think it's more a small component of the world that we might end up building a whole bunch, and this is one that I might even find myself using in a story somewhere down the line, mostly because I'm sure I'm not the first one to come up with this.
Okay, and what would that be?
That is a traveling town. Not like mortal engines.
Okay, because that was the first thing I thought. You said traveling town, yeah, I'm like, mortal engines.
It's not like mortal engines where there's cities on wheels. I was thinking more like medieval level of technology where you might have temporary structures that are put up, kind of like tents. Where people
are we talking? Let's use a biblical example. Are we talking Israel during the years of wandering, where this is an entire nation spread out in tents and stuff, and then whenever they're told to move, they pack it all up and they charge out, and then they settle and they sit, and then they pack it up, and etc. You get it. Or the Mongols did that too when they were raiding and invading lands. They would come in mass.
So not only am I not the first one to come up with this, but it's been done in history.
Yeah, it's a very
much
popular
larger scale than what I'm thinking.
Yeah, way larger. Yeah, these are entire nations.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like they have temporary structures that they set up and tear down. They bring their cattle with them everywhere they go. Mm-hmm. There'd probably be a lot of horses.
Yeah. Well, it depends on how they want to transport. Because the Israelites were on foot. There's a group of people in China that they're still a people group who they rely on horses and they travel and they set up tents. So it's an actual thing now still to have these towns that they're nomadic. They're nomads. It's the definition of being a nomadic town is that you move with either the seasons or where your crops need to go or where the main food source is. So you don't die of cold or melt of heat.
Okay, so I'm thinking about this town, and because we're putting it into a medieval setting, I was thinking about how if they were to travel between kingdoms with different laws and regulations and everything set up, I was thinking about you could get into some interesting scenarios where you go into one kingdom and they're fine with you, just go set up wherever, it's like not a big deal. But then you go into another kingdom and they might see you as the potential spies from an enemy kingdom, where they might say, you're trespassing on our land, you're not rightful citizens, you must be executed, or they don't like maybe some of the things that they're bringing into their kingdom, like their products and stuff that they're trying to sell.
Yeah. Again, I can't help but think about the Israelites who had that issues where some nations would let them pass and others wouldn't, and the ones that let them pass, God's like, okay, you leave these people alone, you can interact with them, they can merge into your nation over time slowly. And then the nations which are like, you're not allowed to pass, God's like, kill them all, everyone, dead, gone, finish them. And that's how that went.
Yeah, I'm not so much world building here. I'm just world copycatting.
Yeah, I mean, I like, as someone who's writing a historical fiction, I enjoy building worlds like this where it takes huge inspiration from history, or even is like a slice of history but reimagined, still true to the time but different. But so what we're pretty much doing is like taking the Israelites and what they were doing and putting it in a different time zone. We're putting it in the medieval times, where, or I guess it's more like a different area, I assume, more like in the English Europe area instead of the mid-eastern, whatever that section is of the world is called.
That is more what I was thinking.
Yeah. Cause if
okay.
I can't think of any people groups in Europe that were doing that, really. They were doing it in small versions, like you had the Irish were doing a lot of that. There were a lot of nomadic people in Ireland and Scotland and there, but they were like small groups. They were like Native Americans in America, where they were just a handful of people, and when they got too big, they split off, type thing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of World History Explorers. We explore the moments in time that no one ever talks about. That's probably why I thought I couldn't think of any examples of a traveling town.
Look, but the history minor in me is very happy right now. The part of me that, extremely happy. Because I love history so much. I want to go back to school and get a master's in history. So that's the dream at one point, is to do that. In applied history, though. So, setting up displays and things. So I can talk history if you want. Instead of world build, we can just talk about history and the effects, things that we can use in history to help us write better.
Okay, I mean, I was thinking that to make this more interesting and actually world building, rather than taking this one single concept and talking about history the entire time.
Fair.
Because that's not what we're here to do.
I know.
Something that. I feel your pain, mostly because I've been in this scenario in many previous episodes.
Yeah, it's
anyway,
okay.
So I'm thinking, let's throw dragons into the mix. These travelers wander into a town, and let's say they're selling dragon products: a dragon's breath forged blade, dragon scale necklaces, or maybe a dragon scale armor. All these other things.
Isaac,
the town that you've wandered into.
Isaac, better yet, that's their transportation. They travel on dragons. They pack up their houses and their things. Each family has a family dragon that they take care of, which carries their household. So it carries all the people in their little house. These are big dragons, I'm assuming. Not little dragons. These are big guys who can carry their whole entire, all their tents and their food. And maybe even some people might have a cattle dragon that takes up a giant cage thing. And they herd the cattle into the cage, and the cattle get to be transported too. In that way.
So it's kind of about the size of Appa from Last Airbender.
Yeah. It not smaller than Appa. So
yeah, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, if it's anything, it's bigger than Appa. But it's gotta be at least. That's a good point, though, is that dragons tend to be at least pictures and images and our idea of the dragon. They tend to be thinner than others, so I guess maybe these type of dragons are very
it could be thin but long.
Yeah, but maybe they're broad shouldered, they're fatter, thicker. I don't know what the right word for this is.
Muscular.
I mean, muscles aren't the most comfortable thing to sit on. I'd rather sit on a fat dragon than a muscular dragon. I'm just thinking comfort wise.
Probably have saddles.
True, I guess.
They'll probably have saddles.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if this traveling town were to go into a kingdom that ate dragons, very anti-dragon, maybe they were at a war with dragons many years ago, and anything and everything dragon is seen as very taboo in their in their kingdom. Perhaps it's one thing to wear a dragon scale necklace. Like that might be seen as a crime that you could be fined for. But to actually bring a dragon into the kingdom, much less an entire town carried by dragons, that might be seen as something this kingdom might want to take out.
I guess eventually you would learn pretty quick, like, what nations to avoid and which ones are fine. But there is that initial discovery of trying to figure out who's cool with it and who's not.
Well, perhaps a big part of this is this traveling town doesn't know what kingdoms are cool with what, and one of the and they're just exploring the world. They're just going around exploring different lands because they feel like it. They want to change. They want a pretty constant change of scenery, and if somebody doesn't want that, then they can set up base in some town or some home that is some other kingdom that they travel through. And maybe along the way, people might pick up other people from different kingdoms that want to travel with them.
It's like the circus.
This way, it's kind of like a traveling circus.
Yeah. So this is a lot more of an open group. Town. Yeah, so it's more open. Like they're more willing to leave people behind and also pick people up. There is the question of, like, if a family decides to settle, I guess the rule is they have to transfer the dragon over. Like, the dragon stay with the group.
Yeah, either the dragon would stay with the group, or the dragon could stay with the family, but that dragon would eventually die. It wouldn't.
Well, I feel like wouldn't it be animal cruelty to say, this dragon, you're now confined to this town where you're not doing what you love, which is traveling and interacting with different societies and flying with your dragon. Okay, I feel like that is the one rule with the group. Yeah. Like, that is their core rule. The dragons stay with the group. If you want to stay somewhere, you leave you give your dragon to another group that wants to come and join. Like, you do a trade-off.
Oh, new story potential. Some rascal joins the traveling town in an attempt to steal a dragon.
Ooh.
But the dragon doesn't want to leave the town.
Well,
He's like, hey, come here, dragon. I'll feed you a chicken if you come follow me back home. And the dragon's like, no, me stay. And maybe he's trying to steal the dragon to kill it and harvest its scales and horns and whatever to sell them. Or maybe he wants to sell the dragon alive to somebody. Just somehow make money off of the dragon.
Yeah, so, I mean, this rascal might have to gain the dragon's trust, so it starts traveling with the society, and, I don't know, maybe starts having a change of heart. But then, of course, the secret gets revealed right when they're like, you know what, I want to stay and settle, and then the secret's revealed, and they're like, shoot, now I can't stay and settle. Might as well steal the dragon anyways, and then you have that conflict.
Yeah, there's already a mob boss waiting for his dragon horns sitting in the basement somewhere.
Yeah. But that's an interesting story. We have wars that might rage because people want the dragons dead, those trying to take the dragons. Or you could just have a fun, like, a travel log. Like, you could have this really cool world, and this just be a town that allows you to explore your world. So if your world's something you spent a lot of time, but you just need someone to, like, so you can see it all, having, like, little stories with your little traveling dragon merchant town is a good way to do it. But we must.
So it's kind of like Star Trek.
Yeah, actually, it can just be that. Like, this would be a fun this would be a fun TV show with each episode being a new town that they have adventures in, and if you find out a character's not doing well in the ratings, you just kick them out in one town and pick up a new one. What? Oh, that's a thing you can do. It would be a fun TV show.
Or you do this thing called character growth and make it a more interesting character.
That's also a possibility, but there are some characters where you just get rid of them. You made a mistake. Yeah. Start over. Get a new interesting one. Some
characters are beyond saving.
Precisely. One thing I wanna ask is, what are these dragons eating and how much?
I think it might differ depending on where they are. Like, if let's say they're near a river, maybe they all go fishing. Uh, but let's say they're in the forest, maybe they. I'm trying to think, like, maybe they would go hunting for deer and stuff, but I don't know if they would find enough to fill them.
Precisely, that's the thing. Like, these
Because carrying an
dragons
entire
are.
town, these massive dragons, that's a lot of food.
Yeah, and
Like, it could
townfolk
be like
would.
farm.
Yeah, the townfolk, like the towns
Like,
they're
it could
visiting,
be
would not be happy. Because the city comes in and they raid like all their wildlife, like all their fish and all their wild deer and stuff, and then they leave, and then they're just left with the destruction.
Okay, so we need a new. Let's add in a new fantasy element to feed these the dragons that could be that one could be present just about anywhere, and two would make for an interesting story or episode when suddenly they find themselves in a place that is lacking this very crucial resource, or maybe the resource suddenly disappears for whatever reason,
Okay.
and the dragons are all about to starve.
I have an idea.
Okay, so maybe
I have an idea.
Shoot.
They're like plants. They absorb sunlight, and then they go to a city where like it could be dark half the year and light, and they go in the dark time, and they're just lack of sunlight.
Okay, well then the solution is obvious. Leave the city.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of hard to do if you're there and you... Well, say you come there, so your assumption, having been new to this town, is that the sun's going to rise the next day. So you stay in the town and you just, like, mingle and stuff, assuming that that's just a bit weird, but that it'll soon be day. And then you slowly start to realize that it's not going to become day, but by that point it's too late and your dragons can't take off.
Yeah, okay, I think that's good. It's like maybe like when night falls, the dragons lose their strength, and so they just go to sleep, but then when the sun rises, they regain their strength and they perk up.
Yeah.
And this could also maybe be like this could be like a magical explanation as to how dragons are able to breathe fire, because they're getting that energy to breathe fire from the sun.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works as well. I mean, the other option is we switch it and we have ice dragons that only work at night. But that's because if you think about it, these guys like to interact with towns during the day. So it could be interesting if they traveled at night instead.
Okay, so they need like moonlight to power the dragons?
Maybe. I mean, the issue is like we know that moonlight is just sunlight.
I think the idea of two different species of dragons, one for day and one for night, is really interesting. Maybe the night dragons are just more of an uncommon species.
Yeah.
It's like they're very cool and are useful in certain situations, but for the most part, people don't use them all that much because most people prefer working in the day.
Yeah. That could introduce some like interesting characters who own moon dragons instead of sun dragons. Who aren't part of the group, because
and they wouldn't be able to travel at the same time as the rest of the dragons, because some would have to travel in the day, some would have to travel at night.
Yeah, so there might be like a mini town, and since they're rare, it'd be a smaller like little group of people who travel via dragon. But like during night, they could even be they could be like the ultimate villains if you really want to, like the contradicting villains.
Like rogues.
Yeah,
Maybe they're a bunch of rogues. They're like people who travel the world, but they do it on their own. And maybe they're less trustworthy than these town folk on the dragons, because people on dragons, it's like if you do something wrong, maybe they don't necessarily have some sort of like government or anything, but if you do something wrong, it's like everybody in the town can look at you and be like, hey, you're a criminal, or you're doing something very immoral, we kick you out.
You lose the dragon. Yeah, the town has the say. The dragon's loyalty's to the town, not to the people.
Yeah, they don't really have any main centralized power. Maybe they will appoint somebody like, hey, be our moderator for some kind of debate as to whether or not this person should stick with us. But beyond that, not really any sort of government. It's just do what you want.
Something else, I think the dragon should be, it shouldn't be each family has, I think, its own dragon. It's just that there's a bunch of dragons that help. Like, you get a different dragon almost every time you travel or something. Like, you don't form huge attachment to dragon. You're not supposed to form huge attachments because the idea is that you can leave and enter the group whenever you want. So
I like that.
So the dragon, yeah.
A story about somebody who does get attached to a dragon.
Yeah, so that way the dragons are more of a, I guess, a resource, like a community bus. They're like the bus system or the train system.
Yeah. And I imagine the people with moon dragons probably do get attached to the dragons. And
yeah,
moon dragons are also smaller.
Which, yeah, they would be.
Could be one of the reasons why they don't survive as these. There's not as many of them because they don't survive as well because they aren't as big and strong and powerful.
Also, they are ice instead of fire. Just because it's a different type. I mean, they also would have to be smaller because the moon is smaller, so they're not gaining as much energy. So they would have to be smaller.
So all around, it's like they're smaller. They're much more of a one-person dragon.
Yeah. So it would make sense you get attached. Yeah, unlike our bus dragons. I like the idea of bus dragons. That amuses me for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, imagine it's like you got this, imagine if you were to, just have this yellow
dragon
flying through the sky, and you write on, the side of him, I was gonna say school bus, but what's a good one? I don't know, I thought I could get a good joke out of this, I didn't.
I mean, you could write whatever this town is called, Transit or something like that. I don't want to.
It's just transit.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to write on the dragon. Yeah, I feel like that makes the dragon. The dragons are animals. You don't ride on your horse.
You do ride on a horse.
No, you don't write.
Okay, yeah.
Right? There's a W there. Yeah, you don't ride on your horse, so you shouldn't write on your dragon. That's just.
You don't write on the horse. You just brand it. It's so much better.
I mean, I bet these dragons are branded. Thinking about it, they probably are.
Why would they be branded if nobody owns them? I imagine what it is.
No, they're branded with it, especially in case. Well, the thing is, they might come up to there might be more than one town like this, in which case you would need to brand the dragons. For some reason, I almost said dinosaur. I don't know why. Anyways, you have to brand the dragons so that way you don't get them mixed up. Or so if one's stolen, people can identify that it's stolen. Stuff,
I think that if you hang around your own dragons in town enough, you would be able to learn all the different dragons and know which ones are yours and which ones aren't. And the dragons would also know which ones are part of their own flock and which ones aren't.
I mean, you could say the same for horses, but we still branded them. And it was still a useful thing to do. I mean, it wasn't the nicest thing. And I'm pretty sure we don't do it anymore. I think we still brand cattle, though.
Yeah.
Cattle are still branded, so. It's an idea that can be done or not done. It's an option.
I'm not so sure these dragons would appreciate it.
I mean, who knows? Maybe they like being like it. Like, it's kind of like a tattoo that some people get matching tattoos. It's a symbol that they're a group, so they might.
They breathe fire. Fire doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, that's another thing. It might be painless. Or it might be like a rite of passage for a young dragon. Like, it's a big deal in the dragons.
Or they brand the scales, and the scales don't hurt to be branded.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be put in needless pain.
Well, look, I think it's like getting a tattoo. Like, we as humans get tattoos, to represent something, to feel like part of a group or something, and we put up with the pain for that purpose, and the dragons respect and do that. Like, the dragons don't mind it. It hurts a little, but it's a short pain, it's gone, and then they're okay with it because it means they're now part of this town, and it's a good thing for them.
And something else I was thinking about was maybe these dragons, we were talking about this before, they naturally just want to travel and fly around and explore. And what it mostly isn't so much this town is deciding where to go, but rather the dragons are deciding where to go. and these people climb onto the backs of the dragons and are like, let's just go and hang out. And the dragons just go with it. They just like the company of humans.
Yeah.
Maybe the humans offer them something. I don't know. Maybe the humans offer them like grooming and stuff. And then like maybe there might be like dead or flaking scales that might cause itches or something on the dragon, and the humans groom them and maybe take those dying scales off, and then can resell them or turn them into necklaces or armor or what have you.
I mean, another big thing that humans
do.
Yeah, so another big thing that humans would do is negotiating with other towns. So a dragon can't ask up to the king or mayor or whoever of a town and say, hey, can we stay in the outskirts for a bit and then like mingle with your people or or like do this or that. Meanwhile, a person can though. So the person can go up and say, hey, we're here with this traveling group of dragons that these dragons want to do this, this, and this. They're not going to hurt anything or scare anyone or do anything bad. They just want to experience your culture with us. And so they're a communicator too. So they're a mediator between other humans and cultures.
Yeah, there could be a whole bunch of stuff between the dragons and the humans where they have some kind of relationship and they get along just fine.
Yeah, it's a mutual thing. But it does seem we've created a thing where the dragons are in charge. Like, they dictate where to go. They stay together. The humans are the ones that come in and out, not the dragons. I'm assuming if a dragon dislikes a human, they're out. Like, if a dragon says, well, they have to be out because they can't get a ride. So if the dragon says no, then you're out of the group, and that's just that.
Well, then you move to a different dragon.
Well, it depends how snubby the dragons are, or how like unified they are in disliking a person.
I mean, if all of the dragons dislike a person, I would probably trust the dragon's judgment over my own and be like, yeah, maybe this person isn't all that great.
Precisely, yeah.
I know that you have that sort. I know that dogs have that sort of intuition where they just know if there's something off about a person, even if a human doesn't.
Yeah. And dragons, I'm assuming, are smarter than dogs. I mean, they're traveling about. Yeah. These dragons know not to like leave a person behind. I feel like they do head counts. It's like, do we have all the people we had? There's almost, I guess there's gotta be some sort of communication. Like a dragon can understand human, even though a human can't understand dragon.
Yeah. Like, maybe a human can understand somewhat, like, what a dragon is thinking, but, kind of like just how humans can understand any kind of animal.
Yeah.
But it's not like they speak English.
Yeah, but I feel like the dragon, like, if a person goes up to a dragon and says, oh, this person is staying behind, the dragon would understand. And be like, okay, that person's now off my list of needs to get on the dragon's back before we leave. Because you're not like allowed to have true like personal one-on-one relationships, but those are bound to still happen, especially amongst people who travel with the dragons for years and years. But it's almost like the dragons get to choose the one-on-one relationship more than the people do.
If a person doesn't want to have a relationship with the dragon, then then it is somewhat up to the human. However, I gotta ask, who wouldn't want to have a good relationship with a dragon?
Look, in a world where here's the thing. We say dragons are cool and stuff, but could be like the same thing as like we think elephants are super cool because we don't see them very often. But in a culture where elephants are very common, they're not as cool. I feel like that's how dragons are too, because dragons are relatively common in this world. Or maybe if you grew up, like you were born to this group.
Yeah, if you were born into this group, then sure. But I was thinking that for the most part, dragons are not very common in this world. It's just you see a whole bunch of them in one group. You don't have a whole bunch of them flying around everywhere constantly.
True.
It's just very occasionally you will see a couple dragons flying by.
Yeah. So you just have like the one or two big towns and then the night dragons that are solo. So we
Yeah.
we gotta ask how baby dragons are incorporated into this, or even
Yeah,
dragon
because you got that
aging
whole
and all
egg
that
problem.
stuff. Yeah.
Well, maybe when they go and they lay their eggs, that is a time where they just settle for an extra long time, and they don't go anywhere until the eggs hatch.
Or
Then
another
they,
option is that since to make humans more useful is the humans can help the dragons carry eggs and like keep the eggs warm and stuff.
yeah,
So they can travel with the egg. Like eggs, it might have had to be like before the humans were helping that the eggs had to stay in like a specific place where it could stay warm and stuff. But now that humans have made these saddles and these cages and these things that attach to the dragon can now carry its egg with them anywhere, so they don't have to stop to have children.
yeah. Maybe there's even a way that the dragons can use the fire breath to keep the eggs warm.
Yeah.
Um,
Would that mean for the ice dragons that the eggs actually have to stay cold?
Ooh, yes, that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Like if it gets too hot, too like maybe for an ice dragon, if the egg gets too warm, it starts. I'm gonna say melt, which is a very unusual thing for an egg to do, but it's a unique thing
It
where
is.
it might become soft and get to a point where the baby dragon inside the egg can't actually break the shell because it becomes sort of like this flexible film.
Putty.
Whereas you want the egg to be solid so that it can just punch a hole through it.
It kind of
But it
becomes
can't
like
do that if the
putty.
egg becomes soft.
Or I think the danger, if it's like
Yeah,
a
kind of like
putty
putty.
substance, the danger is that the little embryo gets suffocated in it. Like it
That too.
melts in
That can
on
also
it and
very well
then it
happen.
kills them that way.
Yeah,
So it's
which also
dangerous at any
would
stage.
lower its strength so it can't punch through. Yeah, it's all around bad for the egg to be warm.
Yeah.
However, the sun dragons have the opposite effect where it's a normal egg where it's solid, but if it gets too cold, the dragon inside dies
Yeah.
because they need warmth.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no dragons don't have that warmth problem because they fly at night.
Yes. They prefer the cold. We have dragons up. Well, I guess once they're born, they're kind of neutral to both temperatures, but at least as infants, they have a preference. Because if you're traveling, you've gotta be okay with any and all temperatures.
I am liking this world so far. This one's going very well.
Yeah.
This is way better than our last dragons episode.
Cassie, how we don't, I don't know why you're so bitter against dragon doors. Anyways, how long would a dragon live?
I'm going to say 60 years is a random number.
Yeah, I was thinking about
so 40 to 60
Yeah, I was
years.
thinking about the age of a human. So like a human can be with a dragon its entire life. So this village could have dragons and humans similar age that like they go through life together. Like their childhood together, their adult life together, their old age together. Is there a retirement area for that they have to like stop by every couple years for dragons that can't fly anymore? Or are dragons like one of those where they fly and then just one day they're done?
I think both are good options. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of the name of that place in the How to Train Your Dragon Race to the Edge series.
Mm.
It was like the graveyard for dragons. I can't remember what it was called. But it was where dragons went to die.
Yeah. Cause I'm trying to think how we keep the dragon population to consistent. So, is this like a thing? Are they kind of phoenix-like, where they have their they have their egg at a certain age? Like every dragon, they're non-gendered, so every dragon has an egg. So or both gendered or whatever that term is. Lay their egg, and then once they lay the egg, the people know like, oh, this dragon's time's almost up. And then they like land and find a place to, and then I guess have a say goodbye to the dragon ceremony. And then the dragon goes and flies off to the retirement home that only the dragons know of. Like, people can't go with them. Or maybe they can. Maybe if there's an older gentleman who's ready to stop and has been with the dragon his entire life, they go off and they go retire together. Because that just sounds wholesome to me. Slightly sad, but wholesome.
Maybe they leave the dragon after it's died, bury it, and then just go off to the next kingdom to explore.
Yeah, that's one idea. It just it seems like a lot. The thing is, it seems like a lot of effort to bury a dragon because they're huge.
Well, when you have other dragons to dig holes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. So.
And plus, I don't know if there would be a way to like maybe people would like shave the scales off and then you could burn the body. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it would be disrespectful if they were to like sell the dead parts of the dragon. Like,
I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on culture-wise. Like, this might be a culture where that's like an honorable thing to do. Like, maybe that, yeah, and that might be like the one way that they fund their travels and stuff. And the dragons know that if, in order for the humans to come with them, they need a thing to sell and make. And they do that with the dead dragons, and the dragons know this, and like they're happy with it. Like their body gets a use after they die, so like they continue on. And then they're also, it's like pieces of them are scattered throughout the entire world. And to them, that's a good thing. Like that makes them happy to know that like a piece of them will be in every culture in like forms of jewelry or in tonics that heal people or stuff like that.
Okay, I'm gonna go from a very happy tone to another story idea, which is not super happy, which is if a dragon dies, there's an instant massive profit of the horns, which are uncommon because you wouldn't normally harvest the horns of a dragon. You've got all of the scales of the dragon. You've got dragon claws, meat if people eat dragon meat. I don't know if that's a thing. But you got all of these different parts of the dragon where that is an instant massive profit. So now you've got somebody who is poisoning the dragons to get instant profit, and suddenly they're all dying. And everybody's like, why are the dragons all suddenly dying? And then it might become a mystery of we gotta find him before he kills more dragons.
Yeah, because if they're poisoned, they can't lay their eggs.
Us in our traveling town.
Yeah, because I guess.
And then maybe it was like one day the dragon suddenly stopped dying. We're like, oh, maybe he got off at one of the different towns, and we don't have to worry about him. 1 month later, the dragons start dying again. He does that just to throw them off the trail.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Just there are other dangers involved in like being a very open community of who gets to come in and come out. So that is a thought.
Oh, yeah,
that's
a ton of dangers to that.
Yeah.
And you could pull out so many stories with all these different dangers.
Yeah, so you got like cultures to play with, adventures to be had, different people constantly. Like the culture of the dragon group itself. Yeah, I feel like is a good TV series. Like I think if this was in any genre and I got to say like this is what we're gonna make with this, I would want a TV show.
Like this could be this could be like all kinds of genres, all in the same series. It's like one episode you have a mystery, one episode you have there's some kind of action adventure, another episode you have a treasure hunt, another episode you have Power Rangers #6 joins the group.
Yeah. Lots of options. Yeah, that's why this is Scream's TV.
Brings along his own Megazord, which is a night dragon that is just riding off the back of a sun dragon because he can't travel during the day.
Yeah.
Power
Ranger that's an interesting
6.
idea.
Usually he carries the team, but in this version, he is literally being carried.
And plus, you can still have like overarching villains that are in the background and like a thread throughout the TV series that gets weaved in, and then you have your grand finale where it all comes together.
Yeah, you can have you have multiple villains. You have the villains who are actively hunting the dragons and tracking the dragons. You could have your kingdom that is against the dragons, and you stumble into this kingdom that tries to kill them all. And maybe capturing several of them so they can't leave until they've rescued them all. that you could have your villain who is among the ranks of the people in the town. Like he's one of them, but you don't know which one, or maybe the audience knows, but the characters don't. You've got my phone whistled. You've got so many different possibilities for villains in this. So many story possibilities, so much world to explore.
But for us, I think
plus,
that's...
if you want to throw in more magic systems, you totally can.
Yeah, but I think this is where we're gonna end our personal exploration of the world. Because that's kind of what we do here. We get a really strong... Yeah, we get a strong base, and then we let other people do what they want with it. So, I think we've got a really strong base here.
I think I've noticed something about this world. Usually when I come up with some sort of theme or genre, something like apocalypse or sci-fi or cyberspace, those never seem to be as good of worlds as the ones where I come up with such a basic idea and we build off of that, like we did with the jungle or this world.
Yeah.
Where I come up with where I did actually use this one as some of an experiment because I thought about this beforehand. Going into it, I said, what if I were to just throw out such a simple idea, a town that travels, and see where we go with it. And I'd say this ended up being one of the best episodes yet.
I feel like you say that for a lot of the episodes, though. You just have lots of favorites.
Mostly the ones where we start off with a very simple idea.
Well, that's because...
And the fantasy world, because those ones, they were just amazing for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah, but I just like it because I think it's because it's kind of challenging in the sense that it's a small topic and then all of a sudden I have to make something bigger out of it and like expanding. So my brain likes a challenge, so it's more eager. Unlike if you get something like Apocalypse or something like that where it's this big overarching topic and suddenly I feel like I have to shrink it to fit. So obviously it shrinks because of that. Unlike this one where I'm focusing on expanding other than shrinking down.
Yeah, I mean, we do only have an hour to do this world building. Sometimes we do it in less.
30 minutes to an hour is our timeline. At least 30 minutes, no more than an hour.
Yeah.
Yep. But we are going to say goodbye, and you can join us next week, as always, for yet another topic and another world and another adventure and more stories and fun and just sometimes thought-provoking things. Other times it's just pure ridiculousness. But it's fun no matter what it is.
So, tune in next time to hear Casey come up with a prompt for our episode.
Oh no.
That is your job now.
I'm only doing this once. It's only this
one.
Okay, only this once though, because...
Next time you come up with a prompt.
Okay.
I have done every single prompt so far. So I decided to just spring this on you. Let's give you the job.
Okay, but you have to make the thumbnail for the next one.
Oh, okay. I am gonna have so much fun with this.
Yep, I'll do the prompt.
So
you do.
much fun.
Alright, join us next week where apparently we're doing that. So, see you guys. Bye.
Chant the tales of legends told, strengthened by the hymns of old. Weathered as this winding road is long, so we sing our traveler's song.